Live and unscripted from the DC metro area, this is a story of surviving and thriving after a layoff. This outdoor podcast is brought to you by atopcareer.com. Episode 20. On her last day of employment, Edith reminds you, know your rights as an employee. Because she did the hard work that comes with a very emotional journey, Edith's goodbyes to her former co-workers were said with grace and professionalism.
Today was my very last day being employed. And today I went to my organization's HR office and I checked out as I was instructed to do and turned in my computer and my tablet and all of my documents, my ID and parking pass and all of that. And it seemed to be a pretty seamless process until I was given some paperwork to sign. And the paperwork did not specify what my severance benefits would be. All it said was that I agree to the benefits that were outlined to me. So I told the representative I was not going to sign that, and I asked for a printout of the specific benefits. So I mention this because, as I talked about at the very beginning of this series, you need to make sure that you know your rights as an employee. And the way that these documents were presented to me was that I didn't have a choice. Oh, you have to sign this. No, you don't have to sign this. If you make sure that you either go through these documents yourself or that you have legal representation, it's going to make the process much easier on you. The other thing I want to talk about is saying goodbye to my coworkers, many of whom have been at the organization as long or longer than I have. And I'm very pleased to say that I only got emotional once when saying goodbye to people, and it was the first person who I spoke with, and I have a personal reason to have become emotional with her. But after I had my very short little teary spell, I was able to move on from that and say goodbye with grace and professionalism to all of the other folks. And I'm thankful for that. And the more that I'm looking at this process, the more I'm thinking that, this place where I worked for 15 and a half years of my life is incredibly, I don't even want to use the word dysfunctional, but it's just a bad place to be. And the longer I was there, the more it inhibited me from growing. There was no sort of promotional system in place. And so many policies and procedures and bureaucracy and people who didn't know what they were doing, making decisions without input from the people who were actually doing the work. And there's so many complaints about this place and nothing changes. And I see these good people who are there who just get so run down by this system and eventually just become another paper pusher or another bureaucrat, completely uninspired to do the good work that they were hired to do and that they thought that they could do when they first came there. And in that sense, I'm so thankful to be out of there. One of my coworkers actually used the word liberating, and I kept repeating that word to myself because I was so scared to go and check out and say goodbye to everybody because I was afraid I'd, become an emotional basket case. And I kept repeating that word, liberating. This is a liberating process. And it's so true. As sad as this is for me, as much of a loss as it has been to both my professional and my personal identity, it's something I realize now I've had to go through. And I know things are going to be better from here on, no matter what happens.
Find Edith online at www.atopcareer.com. Thanks for listening.